welcome to McNulty's Book Corral, and you have made it to the 2022 Roundup. What were the best books that I read this past year? And I'm going to show you my picks of the year right now. Let's start with Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I talked about this book in an episode. All of the books I'm going to mention here, I had an episode on. This rates high on my list. This was a reread. Love this book. Always have. Daphne du Maurier. If you've not read her, you need to read her soon. Like right now. Speaks the Nightbird by Robert McCammon. This, I talked about this in the episode too. This, I was late to the dance on this one. It's been on the market for quite some time. Highly recommended. It was great. This is one of my favorite books of the year. I'm in the middle of the third one now after this. So I'm starting to read the series and get into it. And it's really fun stuff. McCammon is an excellent writer. So I have to give him credit. And then I talked about James Kestrel's 5 Decembers. I consider this, and here let's just flip up the scans. I consider this a masterpiece. I don't think there was a negative review about this book. It's book of the year probably overall. Just a magnificent book. I've read James Kestrel as a pen name. I've read his other books under his real name. Those are good too, but I enjoyed this more than any of those. So if you haven't read 5 Decembers, this is a highly acclaimed thriller. You've got to read this historical thriller. Magnificent piece of writing. And one of my favorites. I just love these guys. Preston and Child. Diablo Mesa. I talked about Diablo Mesa. I always talk about Preston and Child. Preston and Child will always be included in my favorites because I am just an enormous fan of their work. And this was particularly good. And we have another one coming. I think it's coming in January or February from them. And let's wait and see what that turns out to be. And you know I'm going to cover that. We'll see what happens. All right. A Haven for the Damned by Harry Whittington. I'm going to have a Harry Whittington episode coming up. I don't know when I'll film it or schedule it. But sometime soon. I don't know if it'll be before the first of the year or not. But always a favorite, and, just wonderful book from Black Cat. Black Cat Books is a Starkhouse imprint. I talked about these. This is great stuff. This is stuff, I hope I'm showing you stuff that perhaps you haven't thought of reading. Something different than what everybody else is doing. Guy N. Smith and J.R. Park, Beheaded. I talked about this. J.R. Park worked with Guy N. Smith on his final novel. And I have a really creepy episode about this book out there. And just a wonderful book. Coming up again for Halloween, if you're going to read something, read Beheaded by Guy N. Smith and J.R. Park. There it is. Fantastic. You can't go wrong there. All right, let's talk about the Westerns. A couple Westerns here. How about my favorite brand, the William W. Johnstone brand. Texarkana. This was a Pearly Gates Western. Pearly Gates is one of their characters, and I thought it was a great book. Luke Jensen, this is a legacy character, Prairie Fire. I thought this was a really good book. Just a couple of representative examples of the WWJ J.A. Johnstone brand. Never Let Them See You Bleed was a Tin Horn Western. I think this was the first one. I think they're up to 3 now, or soon they'll be up to 3. I don't know. I film these episodes in advance and then schedule them, so there might be a little bit of a discrepancy on when some books appear and so forth. So Never Let Them See You Bleed, Tin Horn. Westerns, you got to have them, Good stuff. How about Punch by J.R. Park? We just talked about him with the Guy N. Smith book. This is great book. Again, this is a fine book for Halloween. So, or any time of the year, really. James Reasoner. I had an episode about Outlaw Ranger. James Reasoner. I don't cover him enough, I don't think. One of the tried and true writers of great Western stories. James Reasoner. Outlaw Ranger from Wolfpack Publishing. Great material right here. And I covered The Wolf's Treasure by Brent Towns. I loved this book too. I'm going to get some more of these. I think I have them saved on my wish list on Amazon right now. This was the first in a new series that Brent Towns is doing. Thought it was great. This is also a Rough Edges Press Wolfpack book. Great stuff. And I covered, up at the cabin, I covered Charlie Steele, Billy Thorne's Gold. I really enjoyed this book. This is a nice hardcover. This is a really nice book to put on your shelf and to pass back and forth to people that just like solid, really good storytelling, really good writing. Charlie Steele, Billy Thorne's Gold. I love prospecting stories. And let's end it with the most appropriate of them all. For the roundup of the year, Roy Rogers Comics, the best of Alex Toth and John Buscema's Roy Rogers Comics. Okay, I showed you this book previously, and the second volume is coming out fairly soon. Again, I'm not sure if it'll be out by the time this video airs, but if not, shortly thereafter. And you can bet I'll be on board for that. You just can never go wrong with some old comic books, and these color illustrations, color reproductions are fantastic. Good stories to read for young readers interested in reading comics and learning to read and having some good adventure tales. And you know, like I said before, folks, you can't go wrong with Roy. All right. And as I promised in a previous episode, Stephen King's fairy tale is very clearly one of the great books of the year. Highly recommended. Be sure to pick it up. I thought it was just magnificent and fun to read. Stephen King's fairy tale, one of the great ones from 2022. All right, so there's my roundup for 2022. Interesting group, I think. Hope you'll agree with that. In the meantime, thank you for watching this past year. In the coming year, I think I'm going to be putting out less videos than I have previously, but I still will occasionally schedule videos for you to look at with book recommendations. In the meantime, my friends, stay well, stay happy, feed that little brain of yours. I'll see you along the dusty trail.